In this video, we will be looking at star NBA players' strengths and weaknesses based on their 2024-2025 season. This video will look to go into areas of players' games where they excel and could use some improvements. Some players, I will highlight their improvements. I will not be using terms highlighting a player's injury history or their mental approach to the game, as I feel like it's a cop-out from actually highlighting the skills that separates these players. Yes, being injured is a weakness, and we know the players who are injury-prone, but this is strictly on-the-court skills, and I think questioning a player's mental approach and work ethic is flat-out ridiculous. The players I'm omitting from this video is Brandon Ingram and Joel Embiid, as they were out for basically the entire season, both playing under 20 games. So it's hard to gauge what their strengths and weaknesses were. Please support. This video took a long time to produce, so any amount of support will help in the long run. Subscribe and like the video if you like the content. Let's just get right into the video. Paolo Banchero, his biggest strength is offensive versatility. Biggest weakness, can continue to improve his post-game and his shooting. Paolo is a big ball handler that generates pressure at the rim of his strength, utilizing shoulder bumps and draws a ton of free throws. Already a great foundation. His drives in transition are reminiscent of LeBron James, as he just powers through a backpedaling defense. He plays physical and can create his own shots off the dribble, where he can just shoot over anyone with pull-ups. Can also be a threat in face-up situations. The efficiency on his shot needs to be better, giving him some slack there because of the roster construction and the youth. But the process of creating shots are all great. He's also a threat as a post-up guy who can just spray passes to shooters, cutters. I really think that there is a 6 to 7 assist season he can get to, because there's a good amount of manipulation in Paolo's game, using his eyes to trick defenders, thinking he is looking one way, but spraying the pass to another open player. Paolo can continue to improve on that low post game with his footwork, utilizing more drop steps and getting more into a hook shot with touch. Has a tendency to take turnarounds and, at this stage, just isn't a great jump shooter. Shoots 30.7% on jump shots and fairly high volume on those pull-up, mid-range, and three-point jumpers. Victor Wembanyama. His biggest strength is play finishing and rim protection. His biggest weaknesses are playmaking polish and shot selection. Wemby is one of the best play finishers in the game, a lob target who can catch bad passes and convert pick-and-pop, pick-and-roll threats. Screening can get better as he fills out his frame and continue to improve his technique. Shoots 37% on catch-and-shoot threes, also can serve as a tip-in putback threat. Wemby is also a top-tier rim protector, averaged 3.8 blocks, which is just ridiculous, man. Tremendous weak-sided protection and very mobile as a center. And then there's moments where Wemby can surprise you, where he is just defending the perimeter and then sneaking in the paint and getting a block. It's just tough to score against him because of the length, and he just takes up a ton of space on the court. Granted that the dude is 7'3", he is going to face problems just dribbling through tight gaps. Has a good handle for his size, but his size does hurt him. Can cough up the ball dribbling through traffic, and when faced with double teams. He is a solid court processor, but has made some head scratch. Catching passes really struggles in his accuracy on passes. Averages 2 turnovers as a big, and when met with physicality and heavy pressure, defenses tend to speed him up and dictate his play, resulting in throwing some careless passes or rushed shots. De'Aaron Fox. His biggest strength is slashing and mid-range play. His biggest weakness is three-point shooting. De'Aaron Fox is a blur in the open court, getting downhill and causing havoc. Not really anyone who can stay in front of him because of that speed can get to the rim at will and be a driving kicker. The mid-range stuff has also been amazing. He's just automatic in the mid-range of jump shots and floaters. He has just multiple ways to get to his spots and just kill you in the mid-range. Fox launches a good amount of threes and has kind of settled for threes at times. It's his second main area of attack on the court, and whether off the catch or off the dribble, he just hasn't been efficient from three-point range. Showed promise in the 23-24 season after the three-point shooting, but through his career, just hasn't really been a threat there. Domantas Sabonis. His biggest strength is playmaking and rebounding. His biggest weakness is rim protection. Sabonis is just an elite playmaker, value as a screener, sealer, handoff hub, passer out of the post, solid handle, doesn't have tremendous burst or explosiveness, but has brute strength, value as a play finisher for short row scoring and passing, showing capabilities as a spot-up three-point shooter also. And he's an elite rebounder, just active boxing out, positioning, staying physical, and challenging someone who is more physically gifted than him, and then providing value on the offensive boards. You can't get a better rebounder than Domantas Sabonis. And Sabonis is a solid team defender, but he just isn't a great rim protector. Doesn't have the physical tools or athleticism to really deter shots inside. Provides post defense, but he isn't impacting much shots inside. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, his biggest strength is shot creation and his downhill game. His biggest weakness is off-ball play. Shai is one of the most effortless scorers in the league. Just insane amount of change of direction, elite pacing, slivery, slide-bys, shoulder bumps, and getting into his shot, turnarounds, up and unders. His ability to play low and still stay stable and balance on his drives is a remarkable skill and a tight handle to get into the teeth of the defense and keep the defense guessing with his change of directions. There's just no defender that can stay in front of him consistently and slow him down. You can argue that he is the best below the rim finisher in the league, as he shoots 70% at the rim and a very efficient 51% in the mid-range. His three-point shooting has looked promising, taking more attempts and hitting a solid 37% from three. The free throws and foul drawing are just icing on top of his game because he is damn near converting every shot when he comes down the floor, foul or not. Proven to be the game's greatest isolation scorer last season. I mentioned in his 2024 season, Shai's problem is his off-ball play, and it still remains as such. He's taken more threes, but they are primarily off the dribble. He only takes one spot-up three a game, and though he shoots 40% on that, just not much of a cutter or a guy to really work off screens or set screens himself. I also mentioned his advanced playmaking needed work. But in his 2025 season, he has shown progression on getting to that balance of his scoring and making plays for others and being consistent with that. He still isn't a guy who makes every pass in the book, but there's quicker process. He has noticing how the defense is playing him and what reads to make. Franz Wagner, biggest strength, crafty shot creation, his driving game, and his on-ball defense. His biggest weakness is his shooting. Franz is a big, crafty playmaker with nice footwork and touch. Very solid handle. He gets low on his drives to the rim with the ability to get into Euro steps, spins, fakes, and step-throughs. He has exceptional pacing and control of his handle that really shines in ball screen situations, where he can change directions fluidly and create shots for others. And also underrated in his game is just his cutting ability. Has really sharp senses of when to cut. His defensive work is another plus. The on-ball defense has been sharp, not overly aggressive. Prioritizes keeping the ball in front and cutting off drives or walling up against the offense. He showed versatility defending forwards and guards. His instincts are sharp too, where he can make plays off-ball, legitimately one of the best two-way players in the league. The shooting has just been a bizarre thing with him. It's just regression after regression. There is a noticeable hitch in his shot, with a low release and slow shot speed. The shooting does hurt as teams can just defend in a way to force those shots. And the Magic didn't have the greatest core of shooters. Just not a good shooter off the catch, more off the dribble. The little shining light is that he shot 44% on corner threes on very low volume 3% frequency. Just overall a 29% three-point shooter. Jalen Brunson, his biggest strength is his scoring versatility. His biggest weakness is his on-ball defense and physical limitations. Brunson has just a tremendous blend of counters, one-on-one scoring, and then using his strength to create shots, inside top-tier footwork, and can use his scorn to make plays for others. And I think at times, he is more score first than getting that balance of passing and scoring. But he is capable of noticing how the defense is playing him, can make a good amount of passes. I've never seen him hit a lob pass consistently. It's weird. Even if you put lengthy guys on him, it just doesn't matter. The guard post-up, step-throughs, up and unders legitimately can hurt you at all three levels. And then he just gets you into foul trouble. Brunson lacks as a defender. Not much activity in the passing lanes, can be slow-footed getting through screens. It doesn't possess great lateral movements, consistently stay in front of guys. He does a good job drawing charges and being positionally sound in those situations. More so a team-type defender. The strength helps him where he can take bumps, and he does give effort, but defenses could just rise right over him, and the lack of a solid wingspan limits how effective he can be on contests. Nikola Jokic, biggest strength, all-time great playmaking, offensive versatility. His biggest weakness is rim protection. Jokic is the best offensive player in the game today. Big body that's tough to handle on post-ups. Rebounding threat as an offensive rebounder. He does the little things great on the court. Man, sealing his man, handoffs, rolling into open space, the short roll activities, screening on and off ball, can dribble and use his size and handle to carve out angles to attack all of these skills done at an elite level. The little things at an elite level. As a big man, he has to post stuff. He has to shooting. Dude even has a floater. Like, come on. And then you can have him bring up the ball and make every single pass in a book with great accuracy. As a court processor, I don't think there's anyone who can truly rival him. He makes great reads and passes off of double teams. And just seeing the slightest movement of help sliding over, he is beaming a pass. And in years past, I was like, the three-point shooting from Jokic can probably be better as a small nitpick. The dude is shooting 41%. But I swear, every time I watch him, it feels like he is shooting 50% on threes. Like it just feels like every time he shoots a three, it's going in. The rim protection stuff? Yeah, not a great rim protector. This was a weakness I pointed at last year. The physical tools, the mobility, are just not great as a big. What I will point at, there's a certain type of roster athletes that Jokic needs to be surrounded with to build a capable defensive squad with him, which the Nuggets have. But expecting Jokic to be high block or a big-time key defender who can rotate out quick and defend verticality at the rim, it's not him, and it's just not the scheme the Nuggets play in. Trae Young, his biggest strength is playmaking and mid-range scoring. His biggest weakness is three-point shooting inconsistencies and rim pressure. Trae Young is a phenomenal passer, can make every single pass in the book. Absolute master in the pick and roll using double ball screens, drag screens, goal screens, and can make the right read. Out of them consistently, teams have to play aggressive coverages against Trae because of the threat of him getting into the paint and causing chaos on mid-range pull-ups, shooting, or floaters. His one-hand passes are pretty underrated. Able to just beam pocket passes to rollers, disguise his floaters as a lob pass, or just beam passes in transition. He can also manipulate the defense, utilizes skip dribbles or hesitations to slow down his momentum, scouting the floor and making a pass. I just want to highlight, yes, the defensive area from Trae is still weak, and there has to be some consistency. But there's been some positive progression with him as a defender. Quicker rotations, active in the passing lane, given some resistance. Since on ball, showing more of a buy-in on the defensive end. The physical limitations, the short arms, small frame, the height, strength, it's still going to be killers for him. But there's better engagement that I'm seeing from Trae compared to years prior. His three-point shooting took a hit last season. Defenses still have to be honest with him from three, but never really showed himself to be a consistent threat from either spot up or off the dribble. Some of his off-the-dribble threes can be head-scratching at times, where he would just take really deep threes with not a ton of space created, or shoot from deep early on in the possession. Overall, 34% three-point shooter, just overall taking some tough three-point shots. Trae does struggle as an isolation scorer, creating consistent shots for himself, especially with a lengthy defender who can outmuscle him and get into the rim consistently is a weak point. He doesn't have a ton of bursts off the dribble, and his strength lacks to really take contact and stay on balance. He shot 53% at the rim last season. Just not a great mark as a guard. And he just doesn't have the strength or burst to really blow by defenders, or a crafty finishing bag to score against the trees. Stephen Curry, his biggest strength is out-of-this-world shooting and his off-ball play. His biggest weakness is his regressed rim scoring. Steph, we all know, he's the greatest shooter to ever lace him up. Can come off screens, can set screens, and make plays just off the threat of him moving off ball and drawing two, because of the threat of his three ball. The shooting will always be scary for defenses. The relocation, handoff operation, and then the range, man. Still to this day, I just don't know how Steph is just this damn good as a shooter. He's a guy where once the ball is inbounded, you have to be guarding him, even if he hasn't crossed half court. I still think you should be picking him up. then he can still make some pretty tough shots against great defenses. He is so slithery. Off ball, it's tough to keep up because he will fake going one way and then go another and get the ball and quickly launch it, and you have little room for error when guarding him still at his older age. He makes tough shots look easy. Just ridiculous shot making from him. Steph isn't much of a rim scorer at this stage, opts for more floaters and shots in the mid-range. Lengthy defenders can kinda bother him one-on-one when trying to create, but still has a handle to carve out angles to score. Giannis Antetokounmpo, his biggest strength is his insane rim gravity, playmaking, off for defense. His biggest weakness is the three-point shooting, screening and rolling efficiently, and is his mid-range shot real. It really amazes me how Giannis can come up, dribble near the three-point line, and he only needs just 2 dribbles to explode and get by the defense. Just an insane athlete who can get to the rim at will with his explosiveness, strength, and also crafty with slide-bys and spin moves to score. And what goes unnoticed about his game sometimes is just the rebounding stuff, the bound and lead into the transition play for him, where if he could just get a full head of steam going coast to coast, no one on this planet is stopping that, even if you try to wall up on him and the offensive rebounding leads to second chance points. He has seasoned his game to where he already knows where the help is coming from, and he can just get inside and make an early pass out and just seize the floor well at velocity rate 0.7. This stage of his career, not a versatile passer, but still does a good job finding the open player off of a live dribble, or stationary, or even in a short roll. His off-ball defense is also still top tier, showcasing the ability to impact multiple actions as a switcher or a low man. The wingspan and quickness also allows him to rotate and make defensive plays. Giannis has improved as a mid-range shooter. He shot 44% on a mid-range shot last season. Good amount of stop and pops, faders, shoulder bumps into the jumper. The process getting to those shots are really good from him. I really like the process he has, and it does help that the defense almost always gives him a bit of space to get in rhythm. There was also promise in that mid-range shot in 2022, where he shot 41%, which in that time was the highest percentage he shot in the midi, but it started to tank over the years. And then just last season, it picked up. But then it became non-existent in the playoffs, shooting 33% on jump shots in the playoffs. That mid-range is needed in his game as a fallback option, because when the game really gets tight with this current roster, around Giannis teams are just going to say, forget everyone else, shrink the floor. Force him to beat us with the midi, or let these other guys beat us. I'm just hoping that the shot stays consistent for seasons to come, because it's going to be needed more than ever as he gets older. He isn't much of a threat from 3, and his free throw shooting continues to be poor. The screening has also been a constant debate, and it's a mixed bag with that ability. His processing and screening and rolling aren't always clean. Still a lot of threat no matter what, but just being able to hold his screens a bit longer to create an advantage for a guard to get in an angle to attack inside is inconsistent, and he has a tendency to stop on his rolls, not fully roll into the basket, and kind of just stop in his tracks and call for a post-up. Jayson Tatum, his biggest strength is his improved playmaking and all-round play. His biggest weakness is his shot selection, settling, and inconsistent mid-range game. Jayson Tatum just does everything on the basketball court at a good level. Rebounds, creates shots, and uses the thread of his 3-ball to create opportunities, to drive and make plays, gets to the free throw line out. Solid rate. His finishing has gotten better over the years to where he is embracing some more contact. He can work off screens and get him going with a head of steam to attack. And then the Celtics offense is so structured and spaced to where he could just make consistent good reads out of downhill drives. Very willing to get the ball out and actively reading how the defense reacts to where he can make a skip pass, a kick out, or operating ball screens and finding the open guy. He has that balance of the scoring and passing. Tatum does try to go a bit into the post and work around the mid-range area, but it doesn't always breed efficient results. There's not much of an in-between game he has that's reliable down the stretch with pull-ups or floaters. He has bumped up his three-point volume to 10 a game, and it gets to a point where he would consistently spam threes down the stretch. It was very, very noticeable in that next series, and that can be a mixed bag. Yes, if he's going with that shot, go for it. But there's times it's not really hidden, and he still feels like it's the best shot available for him. Bam Adebayo, his biggest strength is his defensive versatility. His biggest weakness is his touch around the rim and his footwork. Bam has always excelled as a defensive player. Just a pleasure watching him anchor an entire defense can switch and guard the perimeter legitimately makes it tough for guards to blow past them or go into a shot. Best in the league in taking away those options from guards when switched. Really flexible hips and quick foot speed to defend multiple actions in one play. Can break up lob attempts. Has great instincts when he had to help on a play. Also, just a very strong player. Really difficult for players to really move him effectively. Bam has not been able to take that next step as a main go-to scorer or creator. Has a solid handle, but the footwork is pretty poor, and he isn't crafty enough to create shots for himself. He struggled with consistency on his mid-range jumper, and just his touch around the rim is poor compared to other bigs. Shot 49% on layups, 39% on hook shots. Kevin Durant, his biggest strength is his efficient scoring off-ball play and capable defender. His biggest weakness is his rim pressure and court processing. Y'all know who Kevin Durant is, a walking 25 points a night, either off of post-ups, elbow face-ups, isolation. He's going to get to that jumper, and there's not much you can do about it, dude. Very efficient from all three levels and can also give you production as an on-ball defender and rim protector. KD also hit 45% on catch and shoot threes, working off of ball screens to get right into that jump, or attack closeouts and get into that jumper. The defense was here and there, mostly because of his son's entire defense was a legit eyesore. It was an eyesore, man. It was bad. It was bad, that Suns defense. Please, do not watch that team defensively last season, but he was one of the brighter spots there. KD is more of a jump shooting talent at this stage of his career. Doesn't put a ton of pressure at the. He doesn't always blow by defenders, but it just doesn't matter when a 7-footer can get into a quick pull-up jumper with that high set point. He does struggle getting deep penetration to the rim. Just sometimes can't take that extra dribble, as defenses will just help in the gaps and poke at the ball or just load up on him. KD makes a ton of simple passes, basic reads, and doesn't always see that next. The killer play that guys like LeBron, Jokic, Luka can make routinely. KD doesn't really leverage his scoring into his passing at a high level. Also, not really a versatile passer. Not much of a lob passer or skip passer. He does have some one-hand passes and extra passes he can make. Damian Lillard, his biggest strength is his shooting. His biggest weakness is his regressed downhill game. Dame is still a high-level three-point shooter even with the injuries, and all his range extends beyond the three-point line. His shooting sets up everything else in his playmaking game. Has the pace in with his handle to still kind of be unpredictable and use sides. That pound dribbles to get in rhythm for three, and he leverages the threat of his three ball to make plays for others, creating roll opportunities due to the defense having to really pressure him off of ball screens. He can still carve out angles with the threat of his shooting to get inside a bit, but Dame is more so jump shot reliant at this stage of his career. He doesn't put a ton of pressure at the rim. He seems at this stage of his career, he has to work a bit more to find those opportunities to drive one-on-one. He has also been prone to missing layups inside when he gets there. The burst and change of direction just decline, relying more on creation in the mid-range and three for himself. LeBron James, his biggest strength is his off-ball play and his playmaking. His biggest weakness is his defensive consistency and his regressed burst. LeBron's game has evolved into more of a big man role, screening and rolling, a really good three-point shooter off the catch, shot 42% on catch and shoot threes. LeBron can still be effective in posts and face-up situations. Transition ball screens and creating plays for others can make every single pass in the book. We know him as a playmaker. LeBron has leaned more on his strength to drive. The burst has regressed, but can still carve out angles to attack his defensive. Lapses where he just isn't engaged off-ball, isn't really alert or in a stance, misses rotations, gambles for steals and getting out of position or not being active in help. He has showcased he can be a plus defender when locked in. That was shown when the massive trade went down. Still can be switchable or protect the rim off-ball. Zion Williamson, his biggest strength is his finishing touch and his capable playmaking. His biggest weakness is his shooting. Zion has great touch around the rim of his layups, running floaters and shots inside that he can generate from atop of the key or the post. He has some great balance and hang time when exploding off of two and rising right around shot blockers. Just a killer skill because he can take off really far from the basket and still has the touch to convert. Hard to stay in front of due to the strength and explosiveness. Can navigate ball screens and find shooters or finding windows to attack himself. The rim pressure allows passing, driving, and kick opportunities that he can routinely hit. His lack of shooting in the mid-range and three allows defenses to just sag off of him and wall up on drives, oftentimes having to finish over multiple defenders and relying on tough shots inside. He goes to the free throw line a good amount, but cannot make defenses pay for fouling him. 65% free throw shooter on 8 attempts a game. Lack of these shooting skills also makes it tough on roster construction, because he needs a certain team surrounded around him, centered around shooting from every position and athletic defenders. Jaylen Brown, his biggest strength is his on-ball defense and improved playmaking. His biggest weakness is his shooting consistency. Jaylen Brown is a physical defender on ball against wings and guards. He doesn't get moved off center by contact and brings a level of intensity where he is hustling at times, can pick up guys full court and hound them all the way through, being physical and fighting through screens. He has shown improvement in the reads and passes he can make on the court. He's usually working to get in the paint or the rim and has been able to leverage that ability to create shots for others.
The shooter in the mid-range and three can be inconsistent. The numbers have dipped this season. 43% mid-range shooter compared to in the 2024 season, where he was a 48% 32% three-point shooter. Now, just not much consistency as a threat. Jalen Williams, his biggest strength is being a Swiss Army knife and his defensive versatility. His biggest weakness is his quick first step, getting deeper into the paint consistently and shooting consistency. JW does everything on the basketball court. He's switchable as a defender, has great physical tools and instincts that makes him a threat on and off ball. He can be physical if you want ball and take bumps and slide his feet well to cut off drives. And he has shown some swift reactions on rotations and showcasing some rim protecting capabilities. Legit operates as a wing and a big defender. Ridiculous 73. Wingspan. Even when the Thunder's bigs were out, they literally can just flow into lineups where J-Dub is the center and still be solid in those lineups. He can cut, create his own shot, get downhill, shoot in the three ball, and a mid-range shot. Also a pretty good passer, doesn't have a ton of manipulation, but notices cracks in the defense. J-Dub doesn't have tremendous bursts or a quick first step, and his handle is solid, but he could be prone in picking up his dribble early when he's cut off going to the rim, and it could result into some tough mid-range shots he's taken. There's also a tendency where he has to work more for his shots one-on-one. His shooting has been here and there off the catch and off the dribble, and there's also a reluctance at times to take shots off the catch. Donovan Mitchell, his biggest strength is his all-round scoring. His biggest weakness is his tunnel vision and playmaking inconsistencies. Donovan Mitchell still showcases some great bursts getting downhill on drives and creating havoc for the defense. One of the best physical tools with his frame, strength, and wingspan as a 6'3" guard. His ability to just hit you with constant change of directions, in and out, snatchbacks on his dribble moves are just explosive and quick. He has regressed a bit as a rim pressure guy in the regular season, and has sacrificed some ball handling duties for other guys to shine, but still efficient from all three levels as a scorer. The threat of his three really keeps defenses honest, and he can be unpredictable when he launches them. A 34% pull-up three-point shooter, but you still have to respect him because he can just go on a heater. He can just kill you in so many ways, and then fall back into that mid-range game where he just has the bag of scoop floaters and pull-up jumpers he can get to. Then you have the off-ball game where he has tapped into some timely cuts and attacking closeouts, already a deadly 40% catch and shoot three-point shooter. Donovan is a nice passer. There's a good bit of skip, lobs, overhead, one-hand passes he can hit. But just the balance of leveraging that scoring and his passing can be inconsistent. Moments where he is pushing heavily to score and not actively reading how the defense is adjusting to him. There's also moments where he can get tunnel vision getting downhill, being late to see open windows for a pass to a teammate. He's one of the weirdest players to rank because he brings everything as a score besides the free throw attempts. and everything as a passer. But the elite playmakers have the balance of both the scoring and the passing. Tyrese Halliburton. His biggest strength is his fast-paced playmaking, his ball screen operation. His biggest weakness is his isolation scoring and his assertiveness. Tyrese Halliburton is an elite playmaker who could play fast or slow, creating opportunities for his teammates. One of the best transition passers in the game. Pushing the pace and quickly passing the ball to a spot for his teammates in the half court. His ball screen operation is what makes him truly special, because he can play with the threat of the three or turn the corner, get in the paint, and force the defense to make a decision with the Pacers shooters and cutters. Just a massive threat coming off of high ball screens and double ball screens, and can carve out scoring opportunities for himself or his teammates. Just an elite court processor, an efficient ball handler keeping his turnovers low. So his isolation scoring is a mixed weakness. Tyrese doesn't have tremendous bursts, and his handle doesn't really result in him breaking down defenders consistently, mostly when match up against lengthy or really good defenders. Stronger defenders can kind of move him off balance. I think he has done a great job in burning big men in isolation off of switches and creating shots for himself. Tyrese also at times can really disappear in stretches of a game. If that three-pointer isn't falling, it could be pretty hard for him to create shots consistently for himself. Devin Booker. His biggest strength is his playmaking and shot creation. His biggest weakness is his defensive consistency. His three-point shooting regression also. Devin Booker doesn't have tremendous bursts when creating one-on-one. Pretty quick in transition though, but still a really good creator, crafting out space for a shot for himself or for others. Utilize, as opposed to his advantage, can bait defenders and draw fouls of his fakes. The passing and court processing has just been better for him. He isn't a massive manipulator that can make those skip passes, those extra passes. Still finding that balance of scoring and passing in his game. He's being asked to be a point guard, and this is more of a rant on my end. This takes away from the off-ball skills and the off-ball actions that just makes Devin Booker great. There's no other point guards or screeners on the Sun, so this is more so, is Devin being forced to play point guard, or is he actually a point guard? For me, I feel like he's just being forced to play point guard. But that's my small rant. The pull-up three was not hidden at a great clip for Book, which has regressed his three-point shooting solid off the catch at 36%. But for his standards as a shooter, it can be better. The consistency in buying on the defensive end just wasn't there. Also provides value on ball to really wall up and hound other guards and forwards. But the effort wasn't always there on closeouts and rotations. Luka Dončić. His biggest strength is his playmaking and shot creation. His biggest weakness is his rim pressure regression and defensive technique. Luka Dončić is a tremendous playmaker, makes every single pass in the book, every read with accuracy and precision, master of playing with pace and utilizing his strength and breaks to create shots at a high level. Everyone benefits off of Luka, can find bigs with well-placed and time lobs and dump-offs, can find shooters with skip passes and kickouts. The accuracy on his passes is just absolutely amazing. Rarely a time where a teammate just fumble it or he's strong hands. Pass always placed well into a shooter's pocket or right in the vicinity of the lob catcher in isolation, and in ball screens, he's still a high-level threat with an emphasis scored in the mid-range and three. The step back is the most notable move that he goes to. Luka certainly looks like he lost a step last year playing with injuries and such. Inability to really shake defenders consistently compared to years prior. It looks like it was harder to get to the rim. He operates at a 15% frequency at the rim, the lowest of his career, and shot 67% at the rim, which is also the lowest rim shooting mark he has had since his rookie season, where he shot 62% at the rim. Luka has always been an above 70% rim score. Luka, all the defensive talk and all the narratives going on about him. His problem lies in his technique and positioning on ball. He doesn't really get in a low squared stance, and the stance is kind of hunched over, flat-footed, and that can be a problem when defending along the perimeter against capable ball handlers or against change of direction moves. He is strong enough to take bumps, but he is prone to opening up his hips against drives and the foot speed. Lacks to keep up consistently all the way through a defensive possession one-on-one, and at times just looking like he is glued to the ground. Karl Anthony Towns. His biggest strength is his closeout attacks and shooting. His biggest weakness is his fouling and rim protection.
Karl Anthony Towns is a valuable stretch big and a closeout attacker to where it's hard for defenders to make a decision. To protect the rim against him and give up the three or potentially give up a drive, he's a threat as a popper and floor spacer, threat off the catch, and in face-up situations. The just overall threat of his shooting helps in creating openings for the other Knicks to get inside the paint, utilizing Cat as a handoff hub for Brunson to get downhill and other guys to get downhill. He has racked up a ton of unnecessary offensive fouls by just hooking dudes. Now, I've said this before in previous videos. He makes things harder than it needs to be when driving, and just being undisciplined as a defender. The problem with Cat when protecting the rim is that he doesn't defend much in a stance. He isn't positionally sound in drop coverage. He doesn't have the most flexible hips to quick change directions and impact most plays, and he can also be slow-footed at times. He really needs some strong screen navigators or he's just going to get burned every time in drop coverage. He's valuable playing next to a center who can rim protect, and his role can just be him playing more at the level of the screen and using his hands to blow up plays. Anthony Edwards, his biggest strength is his three-point shooting and burst. His biggest weakness is his mid-range scoring. Anthony Edwards became a tremendous three-point shooter last season, off the catch and off the dribble, with an insane 10 three-point attempts a game, shooting 40%. He was able to tap into that pull-up three as a way to combat defenses going under and defenses dropping against him. It has become a big part of his game to where he shoots more threes than he drives to the rim. Even when he does drive, has the great burst to put pressure at the rim and create for others. His process and skills are continuing to improve, still can get better, but there's recognition he has of how the defense is constantly changing. When playing him and looking to make the right read out of that, he doesn't always make the most accurate or timely passes, but the court processing and taking his time to dissect things is getting better. His lack of a mid-range game does hurt him when the game crunches down. He doesn't really have a reliable shot in the mid-range that he can get to consistently. Not much of a floater or pull-up J or the use of step-backs or creating space. It's honestly just finding more ways to score other than the three or at the rim. Defenses will more than likely prioritize protecting the rim at all costs in the playoffs. And if that three ball leaves you, what else can you really do as a scorer? DeMar DeRozan, his biggest strength is his shot creation. His biggest weakness is his off-ball play. DeMar is a really good outlet when the offense slows down, can create shots one-on-one or in the post. Use of fakes, up and unders, pivots, turnaround fades, has an array of moves in the mid-range to create shots and get to the free throw line. Solid passer who can make quick reads and find open teammates. He lacks as an off-ball player, not much of a cutter or a spot-up three-point shooter. Can operate coming off of screens into handoffs, but just isn't much of a mover without the ball in his hands. John Morant, his biggest strength is his slashing ability. His biggest weakness is his shooting and off-ball play. John had a really down year last season for his slashing ability, but he is still a high-level downhill threat with great bursts and control going to the rim. The slashing opens up the kickouts and dump-offs, and there's not many people who can keep up with him one-on-one. Ja just doesn't provide much off-ball value. He isn't a sharp cutter who moves much within the flow of an offense, can be pretty ball-dominant, which was something the Grizzlies were trying to go away from last season, but they're back into it now. He isn't much of a screener, and he doesn't shoot the three ball off the catch well.
Born against length and physicality in isolation. Darius Garland is at his best when he can come off a ball screen and make plays. Passes to the roller, hit a major range shot. And he has that floater and jumper he can get to, and that jumper is lethal to where he can come off screens and spot up. Garland could just make different types of passes quickly and leverage his jump shooting ability and shiftiness to create shots for others. But one of the things he does struggle with is when defense is really forced him to isolate and score one-on-one against physical defenders with length such as forwards. It can really impact him and slow down his production. He has a 49% true shooting percentage in isolations and ranks in the 39th percentile in isolation. He's also not a guy who gives a ton of rim pressure and free throw attempts, so kind of limits the amount of easy shots he can generate for himself. LaMelo Ball, his biggest strength is a shot creation and transition playmaking. His biggest weakness is the little things and decision-making. LaMelo still to me is one of the hardest players to truly get an understanding of how impactful he is because of the roster and injuries and also his pretty chaotic style of play. But there are positives: a 67 and fluid with his handles, the ability to change directions and break down the defense 1 on 11, of the most creative playmakers in the league with his dribbles and shot creation, even into his transition playmaking. Just very creative, very fun. Once he gets a heater, it's tough to stop him. LaMelo, though a 25 points per game scorer, 53% shooting percentage. He's super high volume three-point shooter, 11 attempts a game, but shooting 33% from three. Doesn't bend defenses with his rim scoring and his mid-range scoring. His pacing and process in the half court is pretty questionable. Really likes to play fast and up-tempo in moments where he just needs to slow down. Though he is a creative playmaker, his decision-making can be questionable. There's a balance to scoring and passing that guys like Luka, Trey, LeBron, and Jokic have, to where they can control the game, where they can make every single read, every single pass. I don't think I can say the same thing for LaMelo, to where he is constantly carving up teams with advanced reads or basic reads. Anthony Davis's biggest strength is his defensive versatility and play finishing. His biggest weakness is shooting inconsistencies and navigating teams. Anthony Davis still getting used to playing heavy and kind of looks slower in moving his feet, but he is still a massive plus on that defensive end. His defensive instincts are stuff that just doesn't come around often and will always make him a high-level defender. Shot blocking ability just impact shots with his length, discipline on that end. Just an elite defensive anchor. Impacts everything on the perimeter, so you can play him in different coverages, drop, switching, and he will excel at that. Anthony Davis is an elite play finisher in basketball. Screens well, rolls well, can operate in pick and pops at times in rhythm, can catch lobs. He can catch bad passes and still stay on balance and convert shots. Anthony Davis, whether open or creating space, he just doesn't bend the defense enough to truly respect his jump shot. 39% on jump shots. He does have a floater and hook shot he can get into in the mid-range, but the jump shot can be here and there, and I feel this skill limits him as a league creator. Davis also has a tendency to get spooked by double teams. He doesn't read the floor at a high level to really make defenses pay for doubling him. Whether if it's an early double or late double, he'll always make the simple pass to the nearest man and just doesn't always read the floor well to make that killer pass. Jimmy Butler, his biggest strength is his finishing, foul drawing, and defensive playmaking. His biggest weakness is his shooting. Jimmy Butler is still great at carving out angles, attacking defenders in a straight line, initiating contact by veering into their path, and drawing fouls. Butler can handle the ball, provide secondary creation next to Stephen Curry. His passing and reading the floor has always been good. Operating as a connector as well, can use him on post-ups where he can get into that rocker step or back you down, threaten isolation situations. Jimmy isn't a point of attack stopper, but he does so much for the team defense that just creates havoc, playing in the passing lanes, rotating on drives, baiting passes, generating blindside steals. Him and Draymond is just a ridiculous defensive parent. The shooting continues to be a problem with Butler, not a consistent threat in the mid-range or from three. He did shoot 38% on corner three-pointers, but on extremely low volume. He can create shots in the mid-range, but he just doesn't shoot it at an efficient level. Evan Mobley, his biggest strength is his defensive versatility, and he's an improved creator. And his biggest weakness is his offensive polish. Evan Mobley won Defensive Player of the Year. Just impact shots at the rim of his length and timing, defends without fouling, can take contact, and stay stable with the offensive player. Very versatile in how you can play him in ball screen coverages. Mobley is continuing to improve as a ball handler, tightening up his dribble to help carve out angles to attack and get inside consistently. Shot 76% at the rim. You can run inverted actions with him, and he can take advantage of getting inside or hitting the guard on pops in those situations. And then the three-point shooting is coming along to where he can hit pick and pop threes or spot up threes. And then we all know he provides the play finishing, the rolls, the dunks, lobs, cuts. Evan Mobley isn't a main offensive creator, and he can still work in polishing up more of his skills there. Has made strides as a ball handler, but can still continue to work on his mid-range game and shooting from there, working on face-ups and continuing to work on his footwork. Kyrie Irvine, his biggest strength is playing within the flow of an offense and his shot creation. His biggest weakness is his tough shot reliance.
Kyrie Irving still is just a masterful scorer as he gets older. He can burn you with the triple threat. That handle is still tight to get to a spot, to utilize the post, to get to face up. Jumpers against you, pushing the pace in transition. Kyrie never really forces the issue with his offense and lets it all come to him. Doesn't mind deferring to other guys to set up the offense and have him work within the flow of the offense. Just a really good off-ball player where he can spot up and come off of flares and pin downs. And then he can take control working in ball screens or in isolation to just size up the defense and create shots on his own. Even though Kyrie is a very efficient scorer at all three levels, there's a regression on how frequent he gets to the rim. He doesn't have tremendous burst to just constantly blow by guys, and relies on raft to carve out angles to score, and relies on tough shot making to carry him through in the mid-range or shots at the rim. He's also very low in free throws drawn, not really creating easy shots for himself without a defender all up on him. Paul George, his biggest strength is his shot creation. His biggest weakness is his jump shot reliance. Paul George is still able to string together moves and create shots for himself. This has probably been one of the worst years of his career, struggled with his injury and getting a consistent rhythm. Going through the season, but he just still has the ability to keep the ball on the string and create jumpers. It's still a massive skill in his game, even though the efficiency dipped last season. George, at this stage of his career, just doesn't put a ton of pressure at the rim. 16% frequency operating at the rim last season. Prefers more mid-range shots and threes, either pulling up or off the catch. He hasn't been efficient at all on shooting this season. George just doesn't have a ton of ways to burn the defense, so if the jumper is not going, he can really disappear in games. Cade Cunningham, his biggest strength is being an offensive engine. His biggest weakness is his finishing and turnover prone. Cade has grown to becoming one of the best offensive engines to no one's surprise in the NBA. He has the mid-range shooting that he can create in open space off of ball screens or create on his own. Post play with that hook shot. He has the pacing and navigation and ball screens to keep defenses guessing. He snakes screens, get defenders in jail, stays patient with his head up, trying to find the best option and spraying out to shooters. He has a variety of passes he can get to as well. Being a big guard just has a ton of advantages. Makes reads off of a live dribble and stationary. Also a guy who can be a threat on the boards and lead the break in transition. Cade, even as a bigger guard, is just extremely disappointing as a finisher. Shot 57% at the rim, which is well below average. He has the touch. You can see that in his floater and hook shot game. But a lot of his problems stem from not being a vertical athlete and not getting all the way to the rim on his drives. We'd like to see more use of a Euro step, slow step, Pinoy step on his drives to kind of help throw off the defender's timing when he gets inside and allowing him to slide by the defense. A lot of Cade's turnovers stems from just bad, inaccurate, careless passes, and he could be prone to coughing up the ball when met with heavy defensive pressure by players with quick hands and can be physical with him, or he has met with a double team. He was second in the league in turnovers in the regular season behind Trae Young and led the playoffs in turnovers. Jamal Murray, his biggest strength is his off-ball play and shooting. His biggest weakness is his on-ball defense. Jamal Murray is really sharp in off-ball situations, working out of handoffs and making decisions coming off those handoffs and screens to find rollers and shooters or get his own shot going in the mid-range. He works well off of screens. His ability to just fake directions and sell his movement really tricks defenders because they just never know if he's going to cut or come up for the ball. And those flight fakes that he does just creates distance from his defender, giving him some airspace to get into the mid-range. And then he is just really, really good as a jump shooter off of pull-ups. Off the catch, you can't go under his screens at all. 39% three-point shooter, 45% mid-range off of floaters, step-backs. The shooting and off-ball play flows right into his playmaking, where he can make the right play. Jamal Murray just doesn't provide much of a plus at the point of attack, struggles getting over screens and staying attached. Doesn't have the greatest physical tools to impact offensive players' shots, and just inconsistencies with his effort and technique when moving his body and staying physical and in front. Alperen Şengün, his biggest strength is his playmaking. His biggest weakness is his offensive polish and efficiency. Shone is one of the best big playmakers in the league. Combination of his post play, strength, rolling to the basket, and making short roll reads. Has very decent touch. Serves as just an immediate source of offense for the Rockets with his ability to be a threat inside as well as his passing ability. He's below average as a finisher at 65% for a big man, mid-range shooter at 41%, and three-point shooter at 23%. He doesn't bend the defense with his three-point shot and can continue to work on being a pick-and-pop threat and spot-up threat. The offense can hurt him at times as the Rockets lack shooters, and oftentimes Shone would be playing in situations with heavy gap pressure. Didn't respond well when met with heavy doubles, needs to be making quicker decisions to get the ball out. Pascal Siakam, his biggest strength is his two-way play. His biggest weakness is losing his handle in traffic. Pascal can do so many things on defense: deflects passes, contest shots inside, switchable. He has the length to really bother guys and being able to wall up and challenge guys. His size, he doesn't get moved out of position much and gives high effort on the defensive end. His offense has seen him continue to improve as a threat as a three-point shooter off the catch. He runs the floor very well in transition, sealing defenders or getting ahead of the defense. Even at the age of 30, he could have just said, "Hey, I'm going to let the young guys leak out." But he really runs hard in transition, and it helps boost the Pacers' transition game. Then he can provide value as a mid-range threat, facing up or backing you down in the post, and get into a mid-range jumper or a layup. He doesn't have crazy bursts, but able to just carve out angles with his handle and create shots for himself, and can finish inside through heavy traffic. 60% true shooting, very efficient player. Pascal does have a tendency to lose a handle on the ball on galler moves, getting into a shot on spins or high pickups, and he does have a tendency to get panicked when he gets met with a double team or met with heavy gap help, stops his dribble, or just retreats his dribble and forces a pass.
He's a solid passer, but usually makes a simple read, and a willing connective passer doesn't showcase much manipulation in his game, or always sees how the defense reacts to him with a live dribble, and it does limit his impact as a ball handler. Tyrese Maxey, his biggest strength is his scoring versatility. His biggest weakness is his regressed shooting and missing passing windows. There's different ways Maxey can be a threat as a scorer off ball. He's really good attacking closeouts and making himself available for a shot off the catch. Inefficient with the three, but defenses still have to remain honest. He can also work off handoffs and ball screens. He has a handle and crafty creation to put pressure on the defense, and has been showing signs of the ability to play physical, initiate contact with his off arm and bumps, and uses a ton of floaters, early finishes to get a shot off inside. He's pretty quick as a guard, so it's tough to stay in front of him one-on-one, and he has access to step backs, side steps, pull-ups that he can get into. Tyrese has just been pretty inefficient. He is mainly a below-the-rim finisher, struggles finishing against length, shot 59% at the rim. His three-point shooting has tanked, still can get the shot off the catch and on pull-ups, but just hasn't been consistent with it. Tyrese is a solid playmaker, but it's very clear that there's another level of playmaking he can try to get to with his court processing. He doesn't always process the defense quickly and can miss open windows, just doesn't showcase much manipulation in his game. He's a willing passer, but just doesn't have that access to different types of passes and quick reads that other high-level playmakers have. James Harden, his biggest strength is his playmaking. His biggest weakness is his regressed rim pressure. I mean, honestly, what can I say that you guys don't already know about James Harden? He's still one of the game's greatest playmakers, still can carve out space to create his own shots of step backs and getting more into pull-ups and floaters off of screens. Still a surgical playmaker, can make every pass in the book. Entry passes, pocket passes, lob passes, skip passes, then still has the strength to keep defenders at bay in ball screens. Harden has lost a step, still is capable of getting to the rim. He is more so a threat in the paint. 18% frequency operating at the rim, and 60% shooter at the rim. He still can size up the defense, but doesn't have that explosive burst he had years prior to constantly burn defenses, and most times relying on the shooting as a primary source of offense. Jaren Jackson Jr. His biggest strength is his defensive versatility, and he's a capable ball handler. And his biggest weak, this is his playmaking and defensive discipline. Jaren Jackson is a versatile defender, lengthy and very mobile, to where he can be a threat as a rim protector or active on closeouts, running players off the line, playing in the passing lane, and defending the perimeter. He isn't a high blocks guy anymore, but his contests, timing, and rotations make him a really great defender. He has the length and core strength to stay stable on bumps and impact shots at the rim. He's always been a threat off the catch as a shooter, and he has been improving that handle, getting low on his drives, starting from the perimeter, and using spins or shoulder bumps to create space. He gets more so in the paint, where he can get off hook shots and floaters, not someone who really gets deep into the rim. Jackson is just not a very good playmaker. He increased his usage with the ball in his hands, but averages more turnovers than assists. Doesn't always process the court well, whereas, with the passes he can make, also could be prone to losing the ball in traffic. He still has a ton of work to do as an offensive player. He shot 65% at the rim.
He still struggles with being disciplined as a defender, biting on fakes, committing head-scratching fouls, averages 3.5 fouls a game, just giving a positioning when battling on the glass. Shown strides in boxing out, but the rebounding can definitely be better. Tyler Herro, his biggest strength is his shooting and improved playmaking. Biggest weakness is his on-ball defense. Tyler Herro has taken major strides as a playmaker, improved handle, and is making quicker decisions with the ball in his hands. Noticing when defenses are pressuring him because of the threat of the three and finding the roll man, cutter, or making the extra pass. He's looking comfortable as a lead creator. He's comfortable working off of ball screens and getting into a pull-up three or pull-up midi, and he still provides a ton of value with his off-ball movement. Here struggled as an on-ball defender. Doesn't possess great physical tools, the ball or the offense. Can be taken advantage of by physical offensive players and can absolutely die on ball screens. He tries hard, but just doesn't have the strength and physical attributes to really be a plus on-ball defender. Julius Randle. His biggest strength is his post scoring and being a driving kicker. His biggest weakness is his shooting inconsistencies. Julius Randle generates a good amount of pressure at the rim with his ability to back down defenders and face them up. Not many people in the league can match his strength, and Randle is a very physical player when he gets into the teeth of the defense, almost always getting the defense to react and collapse to him, creating quick opportunities to kick the ball out and dump off opportunities. He's pretty solid navigating in tight gaps, and quicker processing has made him a legitimate secondary creator for them. The shooting has been pretty inconsistent from Randle, can get into pull-ups and shots off the catch, but doesn't knock down these shots at a high enough clip to really bend defenses, resulting in teams kind of preparing for his drives by sagging off of him. Zach LaVine. His biggest strength is his shot creation. His biggest weakness is his advanced playmaking and off-ball defense. Zach is a really great shot creator, and I feel like people forget about that, and he can make tough shots. He has the explosiveness and the handle to get spots on the floor and create space for a shot. Also a threat to create shots off the dribble from three, either sizing you up and getting into a pound dribble, step back, or rising up right off a ball screen. He's an absolute blur in transition as well, where the explosiveness and burst on full display. Just burning backpedaling defenses with change of direction moves at a high rate of speed. He has great touch around the rim. Utilizes reverses, bump finishes, uses that Pinoy step a lot to throw off defenders. There's accuracy issues on passes that Zach LaVine suffers from, and he just doesn't always hit open passing windows to burn defenses. Solid as a ball screen operator where he can hit the roll man or make the extra pass, but he just doesn't possess that next gear of playmaking where he can constantly recognize how the defense is playing him and what to exploit. Zach is pretty solid at the point of attack on defense, but just isn't always sharp on his closeouts, rotations, and off-ball defense. He can be late at times on rotations and just fall asleep off-ball. Scottie or Barney. Biggest strength is his playmaking, rebounding, defensive versatility. His biggest weakness is his three-point shooting and offensive consistency. Scottie really had to step into a role of being a first option with the route. There's some good, some bad. Made strides in being a ball handler and creating shots for his teammates. Being a willing passer, grabbing rebounds, and starting to break. He has a pretty fun passing bag. Excels as an interior passer when driving and dumping the ball off, or just finding openings inside where the big is open for a pass. He can make a good amount of bounce overheads and at times even flashy passes. Defensively, he is capable of doing everything, defending multiple positions, rotating, communicating,
being active off-ball as a roamer and causing havoc. Barnes at this stage of his career may be best suited as a second option. His offense can wane and can at times be non-assertive. His mid-range has taken a slight progression, growing comfortable there, but the three-point shooting hurts. Slow release doesn't seem all too comfortable. And off the catch from deep, he doesn't have a deep bag to really burn defenses consistently one-on-one. And the lack of shooters on the Raptors roster also hurts how much space he can work with. He doesn't always get deep to the rim or create opportunities burning defenses consistently, and has to rely on backdowns to get inside. Kawhi Leonard, his biggest strength is his shot creation and defensive consistency. His biggest weakness is passing out of double teams.
Kawhi started to pick up his play at the end of the season going on into the playoffs. Still limited games, but showed that he still has it, can create shots in the mid-range, can shoot it from deep and get to the rim. The burst and just getting by guys consistently wasn't always there, but he still had the jump shot to fall back on. 47% shooting in the mid-range can also work in the post and in face-ups to size up the defense and get into that jumper. Kawhi still gives that effort on the defensive, and not as elite as he once was in his prime, but can count on him to make plays on ball or off ball. His physical tools helps when contesting shots and pressuring the ball. Still a plus defender. It was rough for Kawhi to make plays for others at a high level last season. The court process and wasn't always there, and didn't always make the quickest decisions when met with a double team. He had some flashes of being able to make those reads out of double teams in the postseason, but just not consistently through the course of the season to really burn defenses. Still a willing passer, but that advanced level of playmaking has always been a weakness in Kawhi's game. Well, I'll wrap it up for this video. Folks, if you watched all the way to the end, start to finish on an hour-long video, you are truly an MVP, and I really appreciate you for that love and support. If you took advantage of the timestamps, I understand my voice can get annoying at times. I get it. As always, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Before that being said, y'all, I'll see you all in the next video.